It's another week and another brand new episode of the Granny Panty Podcast. I'm your host, RubyLynne. Before we go too far, be sure that you hit the follow button, like, and definitely I want to hear your comments about this episode or any other episode you happen to watch. If you would like to follow me, your host, you can go to RubyLynne.bio, B-I-O, where it's all things Ruby. This week's guest is delightful. Oh my gosh, bubbly, fun. She's an icon. Started off in this industry in 1995 and just has been going ever since. I love to hear what she's doing current day with OFTV, her OF page, and also her new hobby. So help me welcome the amazing, beautiful, gorgeous, smart icon, Tabitha Stevens. I am so excited to have you on the show this week. Thank you so much for making time, especially on a weekend, to chat with me.
Oh, I have no problem, and you're amazing. So, okay.
Well, thank you. I have watched your work for a while, and you are just an icon. And so one of the things I enjoy is having the icons on the show because I love to chat about what's different then from now, kind of how you've progressed your business, because things now are not like 1995 when you got into the business. I mean, it was VHS back then, wasn't it? Or DVD?
DVD came later. We were VHS first, and then it went to DVD, and then websites and
Right.
streaming. Yeah.
For sure. In fact, I personally had someone message me over Instagram the other day and said, I'd like a DVD. And I'm like, I don't have any DVDs. I've only been in this business 5 years.
Oh my gosh. It's funny. I still have some VHS in my garage in a storage container. Like,
Wow.
I think I have like 5 of them. But I'm thinking to myself, wow, like, where would I play this?
You'd probably have to go to eBay or something and find a VHS player.
Like, even technology wise, like, I'm not really good with all the new stuff. I'm not. Yeah. I'm just not. And, like the VHS was easy. You just put it in, press the button. Now you have to do all this other stuff on a computer. And I'm constantly getting scared that I'm going to delete something or something's going to go somewhere I don't want it to go, like my phone, like content. Let's say, like when you're trying to take something and like airdrop it, I'm afraid, what if somebody else got it? Or, it feels sometimes a little unsafe to me. I know it sounds weird, but I'm really protective over that. Is it me? Because sometimes I think, okay, because I am getting older, am I just overthinking these things? And my husband's like, you're fine. It's going to be fine. I just have that, what if?
I don't blame you. I don't blame you because the internet's a scary place these days.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, 95, you got into the business, and I was reading your list that you sent me, and you've done a lot in mainstream too. How you've kind of evolved through the years. Like, how have you managed to keep up with like current things? So like we were talking about, start off with VHS. Well, probably start off studio work only, then VHS, DVD, and it goes on. How have you kept up with that technology over the years?
Wow. Honestly, again, I have a great husband who helps me through everything because I probably would not have a clue what to do. Mm-hmm. It's not easy. And it is different because, like coming from 1995, we didn't have back then social media.
Right.
Is a whole different way. So whenever you'd go to work, you'd have to keep up with everything back then. You'd have to do magazines, interviews for magazines. I was lucky enough to have been on the Howard Stern show 20 times plus.
I saw that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Pretty fun stuff. So you had to make yourself present that way. Mm-hmm. However, I kind of really enjoyed that. I can't say more. It's just people nowadays, because we are on social media, everybody and anybody can be in your life.
Yeah.
Whereas before, you were kind of a little bit more anonymous, let's say, because you had a fan club. It was at a PO box. It wasn't in
Right.
your home. You weren't really filming things out of your home per se.
Hmm.
So it's much different that way. So I guess you just have to learn to evolve. I remember the first time I think I got my domain name was either 96 or 97.
Wow.
I still have it, and that's what I still use for everything. And it's kind of, I guess, being smart that way,
Hmm.
because whenever I would go on the Howard Stern show, let's say, he lets you plug something, and it was my
Right.
website. To this day, they have replays of the show, and
Oh,
my website is being plugged. So that's how I'll know if I was maybe on Howard that day, unless somebody
yes.
me, because all of a sudden everything starts, all the numbers start picking up again, and I'm thinking I must have been on Howard again, because he'll repeat, Tabitha Stevens talk.
Right.
Smart with that. So, I guess it's just been a little bit lucky. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, and then I did take off. I did a lot of things in the business. 1995, I started, and then probably around 2000 and maybe two, I kind of
Okay.
took a little hiatus
Hmm.
because things were changing then in the business. You had a new crop of people coming in, and it
Okay.
was a little hard for me because I
Hmm.
was so used to the way things were.
Yep.
And in a way where, like, when we went, I don't know how it is so much today, but when we went to work, like, I didn't have an agent. I
Gotcha.
booked everything myself. We had pagers back then. I have to laugh because there were no cell phones. So what
Right.
you would do is you would get your page, and you'd be like, okay, you'd have to either find a payphone or
Hmm.
your home phone, and then you would call the person and say, okay, well, what time? What's the location?
Hmm.
We didn't have like MapQuest back then, so you
Right.
really had to figure out where you were going to get the location. But you always made sure you were on time. You
Hmm.
showed up, you knew who you were working with, you knew what the scene was about. There was no mystery. Uh, maybe it was just me. I was very lucky that every set I
Hmm.
was on was some weirdness sometimes, but not mostly professional. People were
Right.
nice to each other. And if people, let's say, didn't show up for work, which it really didn't happen much, you weren't getting hired again.
Right.
And I hear stories nowadays where people just don't show up, whether it's male or female talent. They don't show up or this or that. And I'm thinking to myself, how are they still working?
Right.
Like, be responsible. And maybe that has to do with, I'm 54 years old, the way I was brought up too. You're responsible. You show up for your job. You
Right.
don't take it
Right.
for granted. And I think that's a little different nowadays. A lot of people coming into the business now are younger,
Hmm.
and they don't understand the business. When I got in the business, I was 25 years old. Not that I was, much older, but I think because I had some kind of a little work ethic,
Right.
knew, you show up, you do your job, you do it to the best that you can, no matter what it is,
Right.
and you appreciate what you have.
Hmm.
And I think nowadays people come in, they're like, oh, I'm just going to make a quick buck. And it's like, do you understand what this job entails? And I don't think people
Yeah.
do. And I don't know. So that's
No, I think you're totally right, and I have noticed a big difference too in talking to a lot of the icons from the '90s and 2000s, like Ginger and Christy
love
and
them.
Julianne and those guys. Back then, I think you kind of fell into porn through something else, and I'm gonna ask you how you got into it here in a minute, versus now I see, I've worked with 19-year-olds on set, that they come out of high school and it's like, I wanna go do porn. So I kinda see that difference based on what I'm hearing, you know, from people who got into it
Right.
90s, 2000s. But how did you fall into it?
It was the weirdest thing. Okay, so I was married at the time,
Mhm.
and I really, and I'll be completely honest, I'd only seen a teeny snippet of a porn movie at that point ever, and actually it was Ron Jeremy was in it. Uh, it's true,
Of
and
course.
he was with somebody, some girl. I can't remember who the girl was, and I remember looking at him going, oh my gosh, this guy. Like that's what I thought, I swear. And then he and I became really good friends, and I used to work with him all the time. Anyway, so but I just my marriage, my ex-husband, great guy. I just wasn't ready to be married. It
Yeah.
was one of those things that, you know what, now as I could have said this or that about our marriage, and it wasn't a bad marriage at all. I just really, at the end of the day, he was a great provider. He was very busy working. And I just don't think I was ready. I was 20,
Yeah.
23 when I got married. So I
Mm-hmm.
just wasn't ready. And a few years later, I was working out at the gym. I was at Gold's Gym. And a beautiful woman by the name Raquel Darien, who was a Vivid contract girl with Christy Canyon back in the day.
Nice.
Yes, she and her ex-husband used to work out at Gold's Gym,
Mhm.
and we just knew each other in passing. And our stage names are, I'm Tabitha, she's Raquel. Our real names are different, and we both
Right.
have the same legal name.
Oh
So,
my gosh.
so the funny thing was, we had a similar look. My hair was blonde, her hair was darker, but we had the same body type, very,
Mhm.
small. We had these little fit bodies, and every now and again, like I would get a phone call at the gym, or she would, and they would get us confused.
Oh.
And then people are saying, "Oh, are you that porn girl?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I didn't even know that she had done porn. I had no idea. She's just this pretty girl from the gym with her
Right.
husband. And finally, he came over to me and he said, "Hey, I hear you're married, and it's super nice." He's like, "I was wondering, would you and your husband be interested in doing a scene for us?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like I was, and I said, "Well, he won't. He's not into that." But I'm like, "Well, what is it?" Like I didn't understand like exactly. So then, upon a little bit of research, not much because we didn't have internet back then, um,
Right.
I thought, you know what? I'm not happy with where I am in my life right now. I wanted to find something else. I wanted to do
Right.
something for myself. And I didn't want to be an extension of my husband.
Mhm.
You know?
Mhm.
So I thought, okay, I'm listening to this man tell me about, the job. So I said, okay. Now, at the time I was living in Vegas. Funny, I'm back in Vegas now. And the scene was in California. And he
Yeah.
said, what you need to do is get an HIV test. And at that time, when we tested, it was every, I think, 30 days you'd get a
30
test.
days back then. Yes.
So different. So you have to get your blood test. And then I said, okay, I'll get a test. And he said, well, we'll fly you out. Come and see what we're doing first. And then if you want to do it, you have your test, you're set, you can go. And I thought, okay. So I flew out to California. And of course, I told my ex-husband, because I'm going to tell, I'm not that person that's going to go sneak and do it.
Right. Right.
And he said, if you want to see it and check it out, his thing was, I would rather you not have sex with a man. I'd rather be with a woman. I remember that. And okay. And that was the scene was set up to be. I was supposed to have a scene with Raquel in this movie.
Okay.
So I went out and I saw the scene. And I thought, I can do this. This is like piece of cake, right? I was more nervous about the acting, and I always tell everybody
Gotcha.
this. I took acting like in community college, like it was never.
Mhm.
That was my little thing. I was like, oh, this will be fun. So the night before I shot the movie, I called my mother, I called my grandmother, I called my sister, I called my brother, and I said, listen, I'm thinking of doing this movie. And I just want to make sure you guys are okay with this, because if it's something that you're going to have a hard time with, I won't do it.
Yeah.
And because I respect my family, I'm from the East
Mhm.
Coast, I'm from Long Island, New York, and I was brought up that way, to where, you respect your family. It was a big
Right.
thing. So they were very cool about it, and they all said, okay. My mom said, just remember that when you're ready, if you're going to have children, you're going to have to tell them one day, and blah, blah, blah.
True.
Okay. So, I took that into consideration, but I decided, okay, I'm going to do this. And the next day I went to set. They changed the scene to be a boy-girl scene.
Oh my gosh.
Now, I could have declined. And I thought, you know what? I'm here.
Right.
I have a feeling I'm going to really like doing my job, and I might just stay here. And I did. I did the scene. It was with Bobby Vitale, who I don't ever know what happened to that guy. He was great, though. He was a great guy.
Mhm.
And then that was it. That I never went back to Vegas really
Wow.
after I left, got divorced, and that was it.
Stayed in LA and had an amazing career.
Yeah, I had no idea where it was
Mhm.
going to I just wanted to do something that was for me.
Right.
And I'd been married a few times. I'm on my fourth and final marriage. I've been married 4 times. And yes, and I've been married to my current husband, Gary Orona, for 17 years now. So,
Congrats. Well, hey, girl, I'm on my third, so third time's a charm here.
yes, yes. See?
Well, that's amazing. So you stayed out there. You've had a great career. You actually did a lot of mainstream film. How did that just happen because people knew you through the triple X world, and or did you know somebody that kind of got you into more of the mainstream?
It was funny. Before I even started, doing the adult stuff, I worked with a company called Capcom, and they made a video game called Super Street Fighter and then Super Street Fighter 2. And while I was at Gold's Gym, it was funny. A girl that was working at the counter behind the gym, I had been doing some modeling, and she had said to me, there are these people looking for a girl to play this character from a video game. They approached me. I can't do it. Would you like to do it? And I said,
Oh,
send in your headshots. So I had no idea, so I sent in photos that I had in this out of California. And I got hired to go to the conventions as Cammy from Super Street Fighter 2. And they had
wow.
costumes and stuff. So I would just go and play video games and kind of take photos of pictures.
Yeah.
So I wasn't known as Tabitha Stevens yet. And then it came time they were doing the national TV commercial. And I said, listen, I want to do this commercial.
Yeah.
They put me in it. So I actually got in the Screen Actors Guild being Taft-Hartley lead through doing the national TV commercials for Capcom and Super Street Fighter 2. Yeah. So that's how it started. And then I'd have to say Ron Jeremy, again, was very instrumental in me meeting a lot of people that were doing screen projects. So I did a little bit with that. And then I'm very outgoing. Well, I was. Now that I'm older, I'm a little bit more in my shell. It's weird. I'm in my little world now. But back then I was very outgoing, and I met a lot of people. And I wasn't the kind of person that would say, well, yeah, I'll go on your show, but you have to pay me all this money. I was just happy to be doing things. So it was like, yeah, no, I'll throw you a bone. I'll give you a free, I'll do it for free. Or I'll do, if it's whatever the base rate was. I was never one of those people. And I think also I had a reputation that I show up, I do my job to the best of my ability. And I think that also helped. So doing all those things really helped my career. And also doing Howard Stern show a lot too. People were very, oh, Tabitha Stevens. I was like, oh, okay. But then it came time where people, and I turned this down quite a few times. Yeah, I'd like to put you in this, or here, I'll pay you $10,000 if you will promote something for me on Howard Stern. I'm like, no, I will not take your money. I'm sorry. I will not promote that because that's not something I believe in. And to me, I don't like, and I know that Howard used to get pissy, not with me. I don't know if I'm sure, well, it seemed pissy. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. But people would come with an entourage of people to the show.
Right.
Go. Usually I went by myself, or, if I just wanted to have my husband went once, I went once, just with me, just so you're there with somebody. But I never brought a ton of people. I would go in again, show up on time.
Yep.
For anything fun. I did the craziest stuff on that show. But it was, it was all in good fun. It was for the show.
Right.
So and I think that that's why people, were like, oh, we'll just have Tabitha do it. It's like, nope. It's like I got to do things that are good for me. And
absolutely.
I'm not going to piss off Howard,
Yeah. 20 times. Let's focus on that again. When was the last time you were on?
Gosh, it's been a while. When was the last time? I don't think it was 2011. Was it 2013? I don't know. But it was like,
it's been a while then.
Oh yeah, it's been quite a while. And my first time I went on was with Steven Adler, the original drummer of Guns N' Roses.
I saw that. That is so cool.
Yes. So what happened was, back in the day, well, you know who RubyLynne is, I'm sure. So Amber. Oh,
yes.
All right. So her brother was Buck Adams. Buck Adams passed away, and I had done a few movies for Buck back in the day, and he was friends with Steven. And I guess Steven was starting a t-shirt company or something. And had done that series he did called Baywatch. It was kind of like a spin-off, like a parody of Baywatch, but in porn.
Okay.
So we all had their little red bathing suits and stuff. So I had done one of those, and Buck reached out to me and he said, "Hey, would you like to go on the Howard Stern show with Steven Adler wearing the Baywatch bikini or bathing suit? And Steven's going to talk about his t-shirt line." And I said, "Sure, okay." So I got flown out and I went on with Steven, and it was a lot of fun. So that was the first time I
That's cool.
actually got to go on the show, but it had been years since then.
Yeah.
So I remember then after that, I hired a publicist, and he had said to me, he's like, "Oh, would you like to go on the Stern show?" I'm like, "Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah. Why not?" And I went on promoting, oh my gosh, I can't remember what it was, but it was something adult I was doing. But so I went on with that, and oh no, it was Guess Who the Porn Star Is. So there was
Oh.
a lineup of girls, and they had me dressed down. They're like, "Here, wear like jeans and like I had a button-up denim shirt on."
Oh, that's funny.
It was weird. And then I had long black hair at the time, and I remember that all the other girls are dressed more hoochie-ish, which was
Yeah.
cute. So it kind of was awkward because I'm like they're not going to know, like come on, you can tell, like, why is this girl going in there that has this, long denim shirt? But anyway, so they asked some questions, and then they asked me this one question about HIV, and I kind of was like, I don't know, because you want to make it look like you don't know what you're talking about because you want them to guess wrong. Well, I think somebody guessed correctly, but that's how that show started.
Yeah.
And then after that, they would call and say, "Hey, what are you doing? Are you up for this? Or are you up for that?" And that's how that started with the Howard Stern show.
That is so cool. And I feel like back then he was more controversial than he is now, because he was really kind of off the charts for a long time, crazy on his show. He's really dialed it back now, but that had to have been, what an experience.
Oh, it was great. And he has a lot more. He has A-list celebrities on now. So it's a whole different, back then, he had all kinds of fun, interesting, not that they're not fun and interesting now, but he had a lot of like wild people.
Shock jock. He was a shock jock.
Go there. Seriously, I was scared to go on the show. And I'm thinking, what do I have anything to be nervous about? But you just never know.
Right.
Ask you, or he's going to ask you, would you do this or do that or blah, blah, blah. So you never knew.
Yeah.
And every single time I went on that show, I was nervous. The day before, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't.
What am I getting myself into this time?
It was always fun. And I got to tell you, those are some of the best times of my life were being on the show. Everybody was great. I never had an issue with anybody. And a lot of people have asked, so even girls in the business, which was kind of funny, "Oh, did you have to sleep with anybody to get there?" I'm like, first of all, I never slept with anyone, not Howard, not anyone from the Stern show. Now, when I would do contests with like guests or whatever, that was a whole different vibe. But
right.
Anybody that was associated with the show improv.
Yeah.
So I just, that was a funny thing because I had a few girls like, "Yeah, what did you have to do?" And I'm thinking, I'm a good guest.
You should say, I didn't have to do anything.
I did. I'm doing enough crazy stuff as it is.
Right.
Yeah.
So current day, 54, you said, which by the way, I'm 57, and I feel like when I turn 50, this is the best decade of my life.
Yes.
I feel like when you turn 50, you're given away.
Thank you. Yes, I'm at this stage right now where I'm at that. I'll be 55 in February, and I'm to that. Like now, I just sit there and I'm like, wow, like I don't have the patience like I used to.
Yeah.
Not with some things, yes, but something I just don't. I'm just like, it's going to be what it's going to be. The universe is going to let things happen, and you have to learn. You got to let go of that control sometimes. Yeah. It's like things are just going to go.
It's hard. But yeah, I have this theory, like if it's so hard to make something happen, it's the universe telling me it's not supposed to happen, or if I wanted to be on a show or, have something, if I have just got to hammer that to the night and I'm so stressed out, I'm like, that's the universe telling me it's not supposed to be.
Right, because why stress? It's so silly. Yes, it's one of those things. And now, I've grown. I listen to Alan Watts, and I Terrence McKenna. I take cannabis every day. I take it a little bit in the afternoon, and when I go to bed, I take edibles, and that has made my life so much more peaceful and happy. And I
Yeah.
don't drink alcohol. That's my thing is, I take my little edibles, and yeah, it's the hard part for me right now is I'm not quite in menopause yet, and I want to be in menopause. I'm in peri. I'm almost there. So it's like, am I gonna be there? Like I thought, like about 4 months ago that I was there. No,
Uh-huh.
surprise.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, just take it. But the things that go through your body, like I've
Mm-hmm.
never expected, and my mom didn't tell me about this because she had a hysterectomy
Yeah.
when I was younger. So I didn't know that, my mom didn't think, oh, well, we got to talk about this is going to happen in your, mid to late 40s, 50s. I had no
Mm-hmm.
clue. So here I am thinking there's something wrong with me, all these weird things going on. And not
Yeah.
even whiplash, it's just the weird dizziness and the numbing things and just weird. And once I went to the emergency room, I thought that there was something wrong with me. And
Right.
they're like, well, you don't have Bell's palsy. And I'm like, from like, what do you mean? His
Right.
face was tingling a little bit. And they're like, no, you're symmetrical. And they said, and this is what's sad about just in general with, how women, we
Mm-hmm.
need to be cared for more. We need to talk more about women's issues. They sent me home with a prescription for a seizure medicine.
Oh my.
And I'm like, am I having seizures? I didn't know. And it wasn't. So then I
Right.
went to a different doctor and they'd said, no, I think you're just getting ready to go through to perimenopause. You're going.
Right. Right.
And I'm like, well, what's that? But can you imagine? Like you go to the
Yeah.
doctor thinking it's one thing and they're telling you it's something else. So I never took that prescription, thank goodness.
Good.
Yes, it's amazing. So it's different. But I do know too, like, because your body's changing, but you still, to me, I'm still very sexual,
Yeah.
which I think it can go different ways for different people. So I don't know.
I've heard that. Yeah. It has not affected me in the negative way at all. But also something to consider is I use my naturopath for menopause issues. And because a lot of times the medical side, medical doctors, they just want to either, like you said, give you a prescription or, let's just take it out or whatever. So
Right.
I've had really good experience with my naturopath.
You know what? That's what I need to do. And I'm more about that more and more, especially as I get older. And it's great
Hmm.
because, I had talked to my husband about like, I can't, this is insane. Maybe I should take it out. And I talked to my doctor, my gynecologist about it. And she said, she goes, you're at a stage now. Well, if you can handle it, just deal with it
Right.
and do it naturally. And my doctor, which was a surprise because you never know nowadays, like you said. And I said, you know what? I'm going to try to keep, I don't want to have to go on like hormone stuff. If I don't have
Right.
to, I'm sure at some point I'll have to do something, but just keep it like as even my husband said, he's like, try to keep everything as long as you can. I'm like, oh,
Right.
so,
I
yeah.
know that feeling. So what projects do you have going on right now? What are you working on?
Okay, it's so funny. Yeah. So let's see. I am now doing more. Well, I still have fan sites. So, of course, the
Mhm.
only fans, the loyal fans. And I have a series that I do for the fan sites. It's called The Traveler. So I play this character named Karma that, she takes up on all these adventures
Okay.
and she comes to these really interesting and wicked places and does all these
Oh,
cool sexual things in these places. But every time you see her, she has a suitcase. And in the suitcase could be who knows? And that's what she brings to her locations. And you never know who's going to be at the location. Sometimes it's her. Sometimes she has characters called a Scuba Man, where he wears a scuba mask. I have different people coming into the scenes. Let's see, we've had who have I had? I'm trying. Will Tile was in one of them. A
mhm.
friend of ours, Dan Eternal, and he's very goth, and he's got the piercing in his penis, so it's wild. Um,
Oh,
I couldn't fit it in there
he's
though.
got a little Prince Albert going on.
It's a big one too. It's a big. It's like, oh my gosh, yes. And it was funny because the last time I'd work with him, I had him take it out because it was doing something to the back of my throat. Yes,
Oh.
and I was wondering why for a week. I'm like I couldn't swallow properly. I'm
Yeah.
like, and normally I had no problem with things going in there, but I just was like wait, this isn't right. Like it felt so
Mhm.
off. And then of course a couple weeks later it went away. I'm like, we can't use that piercing. Can you take it out?
He
Um,
scratched you.
oh my gosh, yeah, but it wasn't even bad though. And it, I'm the kind of person too that, maybe you can answer this. So, because I do my own things. I don't work for other companies
Yeah.
really anymore, just because I do my own thing. But if somebody said go rougher with her, I'd be like, no,
Yeah.
no. Like I know what I can do and what I can't
Yep.
do. So that's why it's easier for me to control the narrative when I do my own work, because
That's
then
right.
it's like if I want to do like I can do it my way and not have somebody like doing that, because
Nobody's telling you how to do it or
right. Or, sometimes talent can assume, oh, well, I'm just going to do this. I've had that with male talent before. One time, really bad, where I was on set and I literally left the set and I went into
wow.
the car and I cried. The only time it's ever happened. And that was in probably like around 2010.
Wow.
So can you imagine? I come from a time where we discuss what we're going to do together.
Right.
You have your little, if something hurts, just tap me. TT Boy. I don't know. Do you know who TT Boy is?
I don't.
Okay, so he was very big back in the 90s, and he
Mhm.
was known for rougher scenes with people.
Oh.
So what I did, and I was in the bit, that was probably one of my first top 10 movies I ever done. But I heard about that, and they said, "Oh, you're going to work with him," and some girls had said, "Oh, he's really rough. Just put him in his place," kind of a thing. And to me, it's like, well, why would I? I'm going to talk to him ahead of time, be kind, and say, "Hey, if you don't mind, I'm really
Yeah.
small. Can you please just be careful?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And during the scene, he had a mask on in the scene. And he would talk to me through the mask and be like, "Are you okay? You want me to go rougher?" But that was nice.
That is good.
You communicate with people. And,
Mhm.
if there were girls that complained about it, it was probably because they were being jerks, telling them, well, you better not, da da da. And he probably did just to get mad. Not that it's okay, because it's not okay.
Right. Right.
I
Right.
think you communicate. And I think now there's not so much communication. I think, you go to work, you do the scene, but
Mhm.
sometimes somebody might think, oh, well, she might like it rough. It'll look
Right.
good. Now, yes, it might look good in a scene, but don't hurt somebody. And I got hurt in that scene. Like I was in pain. I thought I did a horrible scene, and I pride myself on my work. And I was
Mhm.
the director at the time, and he and I still to this day are very good friends. And I called him. I'm like, hey, was the scene really bad? And he said, no, why? And as we age, you want to make sure. Remember, you come from a time when you're 25, and now you're, what was I, in my 40s or something? So
Mhm.
to that time, and you're like, do I still have it? Like you question yourself. You still do.
Right.
It's one of those
Right.
things. And I got so sad, and I just started crying. He said, "What happened?" I said, "Well, I tapped him out so many times,
Mhm.
and I squeezed his arm, telling him this, but he wouldn't. I even was like, please slow down, and he didn't do it.
Wow.
I felt so horrible because I didn't want to ruin a scene for somebody, but at the
Right. Right.
I don't want to get hurt either." But he said, no, no. He goes, the scene was great. He goes, I had no idea. I am so sorry. I'm like, well, it's not your fault. How would you know? I mean, you're just filming. It's hard. You can't blame somebody
Yeah.
who's just trying to get all the shots. And he's a great guy. And he would have stopped the scene had he had known what
Mhm.
was going on. So
Yeah.
that happened. And that was a little tough for me.
Yeah,
So,
and more of that kind of thing has come out recently. I mean, I don't
oh,
want to rehash like Twitter drama, but about male talent not honoring when the girl is like tapping out, back
yes,
off. And
guys, yes, they don't understand because we also, like, even back in the day, if it was that time of the month, you're still filming. I mean, you can not,
right.
but you use your sponge and you put it, but that's still uncomfortable down there. You're not in the best way. So if somebody's in there doing whatever, getting crazy, you just got to be sensitive. Guys
Yeah.
have to know. Maybe I don't know if it's maybe agencies, if people are with agents, because it seems that's a thing. People are with agents, they should say, like maybe a little class or a little something to say, hey, this is how you handle stuff, instead of just
Yeah.
here, go work with so and so, or people changing your talent. Like that only
Gotcha.
happened to me later in my career, where I knew who was coming to work. who I was working with. And if something had to happen, you were notified days in advance.
Right.
And the director couldn't get mad if you declined because it was somebody that was not on your list.
Right.
And my list was mostly of people that I knew were on drugs.
Mm-hmm.
If they were, maybe shooting up or doing whatever, I didn't want those people to work with
Yeah.
me because those were the ones who eventually ended up HIV positive,
Yeah.
infecting other girls. And, just so I'm glad I was very smart with that. But yeah.
Yeah. Times have changed. Times have changed. So your series, is it on your OnlyFans?
That series, yes, is on my own.
Okay. Okay. And then aren't you doing OFTV as
Yes,
well?
yes, yes, yes. I have my own little, I don't know if you call it I guess it's a channel.
Channel. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's called Tabitha Stevens, The Wildlife. So what I do is my husband's on it with me as well, and we go
Cool.
on cool, fun adventures, and we just film things like that, like just fun, interesting stuff. OFTV is pretty much very PG rated. It's very, very strict. So they declined one of my episodes actually that I was
Oh,
wearing. I was talking about lingerie. I don't even think I was wearing it, but they're very strict on how you do things, and I get it. I mean that's their rules, and we didn't realize it at the time. We thought
right.
because it was very tame, but so I'm very careful how I shoot all that stuff. So yeah, I did that like we just went in last week, us finding dinosaur bones out in the Badlands because that's what I love, rock
That's
mountain.
so cool.
It's so much fun. Oh yeah, I found an Allosaurus skull in the rock, and yeah, so we went back to revisit that location. So we took everybody on an adventure. So that's what that kind of stuff. I do that, and I'm trying to think. Wow, and what else do I have? Oh my
That's
god, yeah.
That's good though to keep busy and still have that. And also, I was going to say, I always say they love to see you in your natural environment.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a safe for work TikTok that I go live on every day and
Oh, fun.
talk about, cougar dating, dating advice, that kind of thing.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
they love to see you dressed. They want to know what you're like in your real life. And so I
Yeah,
think that's great. Your OFTV. That is very unique.
yes, and then we also film like little sci-fi independent movies. I had done, I think my husband directed, produced, I produced and starred in 5 movies in like a year and a half.
Wow.
Yeah, they're really neat. So for a company called V Channels, and oh yeah, a lot of fun. So we've been doing those. Now we're getting ready to do another one for us. So we do a lot ourselves. And my husband
Mhm.
created, produced, and directed HBO Cinemax's The Erotic Traveler. So we own those shows. So I
Okay.
don't know if we would ever do another one, and that's an adult-ish, like late night, sexy show. So Gary has that pedigree, working with HBO. So all of our stuff, we
Okay.
do everything high end. So everything from the lighting to the sound to
That's
everything.
amazing.
But that's what we love. Like that
Yeah.
gets excited. So we do that. And we bought a travel trailer. So we bought an old 1965 Avion travel trailer, and an Avion it looks like an Airstream.
I love it. That's so cool.
It's a 24-footer, and we renovated, and we're still going. There's still more going because it's hard to renovate your trailer when you live in a master plan community in Las Vegas when the heat is 117 degrees. So you only have like, I want to say 2 days a week where you can bring the trailer home, work, do some
I
stuff.
was going to say, you can't just leave it parked there and work on it.
Nope, we have storage space, bring to storage, but it was too hot to work on it. So we actually went to
Mhm.
Oregon,
Uh-huh.
and we have family out in Oregon. So we went and parked it in their driveway for a few weeks and did a lot of work there. We still have a few more things, but that's what we're doing now too, is we're taking the trailer out and taking, like the video adventure, taking
Yes.
adventures. So yeah, that's my life these days. It went from being like on all these shows and movies, and now I'm like, let's just go in the trailer and hunt
Yeah.
for rocks.
Well, and a couple things. I'm in Portland, Oregon, but if you're ever close to me, let me know because I
Yes.
would love to meet up and have coffee or something.
Oh
But
yeah.
also the vintage trailer thing towards the Oregon coast, and I can't remember the exact town. I think it's by McMinnville. They have, it's a campground where they have brought in all these vintage trailers, restored them, and you rent them. So it's almost like an Airbnb type
I
of
saw
thing.
that because I was trying to get ideas. It was
Yeah.
so funny. Yes, because our family's out in Salem. So
Okay.
yeah, it's not far from there. So, but we actually were staying out in Salem. So
Yeah.
that's hilarious. And I know we thought about going, but then it was like we have our trailer, so
Right.
it's like, well, yeah, but wow, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a whole cool, and they have different kinds, like a
Yes.
Rose, and yeah, they have all these different ones. Yeah, oh, trust me, we researched trailers for many years, and finally we found one. The guy was getting rid of it, and it wasn't that expensive, which is
Yeah.
crazy nowadays because like anything like an Airstream, they're expensive. And we thought, let's do something we can renovate. It'd be
Right.
fun. And my husband's been doing most of it. I'm more the decorator and the
Right.
painting
You're
and stuff.
the idea girl. Yeah. You're like,
Let's see. But yeah, and he's been doing a great job. So yeah, so we went on a trip a few weeks ago, and we were out in Utah, and we boondocked. So we didn't even stay in a camp.
yeah,
We straight up boondocked for
that's so cool.
like 10 days.
Uh-huh.
It was interesting. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, there were things, and we have a composting toilet. That's all I'm going to say. That was interesting too. But we wanted the off grid, the showering on demand hot water heater, like things like that. Like it's crazy. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. So when people say, "Oh, are you really real?" All right, I have a composting toilet. That's as real as it gets. No.
I love it. I love it. And then Fossil, Oregon, which I've always wanted to go out there. You can dig for fossils out there too. So
Now, where is that kind of like by?
Fossil, it's in Eastern Oregon, and I don't know exactly like what highway you take to get there, but that's been on my bucket list for a long time. So if you end
Oh,
up in Fossil digging fossils, let me know.
oh no, that's great because I think that's kind of by Burns, Oregon, because that's how
Yeah.
we drive in is
Yep.
through Burns, and we were going to go to a place that had petroglyphs because we're so into that whole thing.
Yeah.
So so we were going to go do that and hunt for obsidian. Actually, we did that yesterday in Nevada. But there was that big fire that happened.
Yeah.
And we were going through town. We're like, nope, we're not going to stay. So we ended
We're
up.
always on fire somewhere.
I know. I love Oregon. I got to tell you, the most peaceful, it's funny, like this summer, I was at the most peace in Salem and by the beach. Like it's even Salem. It's so quiet because Vegas is so different now. It's a whole different world and it's too much for me. Whereas Oregon's more chill, the vibe, the people, everything in Oregon is so awesome.
It is. Just don't go into don't come into proper Portland though. It's destroyed.
Oh no.
I'll just warn you, just go around it.
Yeah, that's where I usually go anyway. At the beach, my parents love to go to Lincoln City, so they go to there.
Yeah, that's my favorite beach too. So.
Oh yes, we always go up there and visit them. So yeah, that's awesome.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of like this lady that's shooting adult stuff, hunting for rocks, taking out the trailer, stuff like that.
What a beautiful life you've created for yourself. That is amazing. That is amazing.
Yes.
Yes. So tell people where they can find you as we get ready to close out. Where can we see all these awesome shows that you're doing?
Okay, well, let's see. We have OnlyFans TV, and that's Tabitha Stevens. They can just search my name, TabithaStevens. I did think about that because I'm thinking, did I spell my name?
Right.
And then also, tabithastevens.com has the links to OnlyFans.
Okay.
Any of my fan sites, all my social media is on tabithastevens.com, but it's at Miss Tab Stevens, which is like the Instagram.
Oh yeah.
And they're all verified. I know that nowadays, even on like the Twitter X or whatever we're calling it,
right?
That you can get the check. I mean, I had to bust my butt trying to get that check for so many years. Finally, and I was just like, wait a minute, now people buy. I still had to pay for it. I'm like, why am I paying for this? But anyway,
right.
So then it's the real deal. So yeah, so that.
Yep. Well, wonderful. I just want to thank you so much for coming on. Yeah, I've just admired you for a long time. And hey, 50s, Us 50
Yeah.
gals have got to keep it going.
Yes. And we should do something. You know what? We should do
I
something.
would love that. I would
Let's
love
do it.
that. I would love that. And if at nothing else, at least let's meet up for coffee when you're out this way, or I'm
Yeah.
in Vegas, so
Yes. And there's fossil hunting.
yeah, I
We
know
should
that
do
would
a
be
fossil
fun.
hunting thing.
We could film that, do something fun.
That's what I'm saying. Yes. Okay. Um,
Well, thank you again for
Thank
being on
you.
and taking the time. It's been a delight to get to know you.
Oh, thank you so much. And congratulations to you and everything you're doing.
Thank you.